All right, let's talk about what's really going on with Trevon Diggs, because if you're a Cowboys fan like me, this one stings a little. We're not just talking about a guy skipping workouts. We're talking about a $500,000 roster bonus being left on the table. That's $500,000 just sitting there, and Diggs seems willing to let it go. Now look, I get it. When you're playing under a $97 million contract, maybe that kind of cash doesn't hit the same. But to most of us, that's life-changing money, right? And it makes you wonder, why would a player willingly give that up? It turns out Diggs hasn't been working out with the team this offseason, at least not in the way the Cowboys would like. Sure, he's apparently in communication with them. But communication isn't the same as being there, on site, grinding it out with your teammates, showing the coaches that you're fully locked in. Especially not when you're coming off a major injury like an ACL tear. And trust me, the Cowboys haven't forgotten that. Let's be real. Fans have short memories, but the front office doesn't. They're watching. They're tracking every dollar, every move, every clip. And that brings us to the video Diggs posted recently, supposedly showing off his rehab. But when you watch it closely, it's more of a social hangout than a serious workout. A couple high fives, some smiling with the boys, not much else. That's not exactly reassuring when you're trying to convince the team you're ready to bounce back. So now the question is this: is Trevon Diggs playing a dangerous game with the Cowboys? And could this open the door for the team to start looking for an out from that big contract? Let me ask you this. If you were in Trevon's shoes, would you show up and collect that bonus? Or are you rolling the dice, betting on your own way? Drop your answer in the comments, and hey, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're pushing hard to hit 14,000 subscribers, and every single one of you counts. Now here's where things start to get really interesting. Because while Trevon Diggs might be absent from the team's workouts, you know who is showing up and putting in the work? Darren Bland. And that's no small detail. Bland isn't just filling in, he's making waves. The coaches are watching him closely, and the word coming out of the Star is that Bland is being looked at as a legitimate CB1 option. That's right, CB1. And for a guy who wasn't even on most fans' radar as a long-term starter a couple of years ago, that's a huge leap. But honestly, it makes sense. He was a breakout star last season, stepping up when Diggs went down, and he kept the secondary from collapsing. That's not just talent, that's trust. And once a coaching staff starts trusting you, that's when things shift. Think about it. This isn't just about replacing Diggs temporarily. It's about the Cowboys preparing for a reality where Diggs might not be the long-term centerpiece of the secondary anymore. And if they're seeing leadership, discipline, and work ethic from Bland, all the things Diggs is currently being criticized for lacking, the writing might already be on the wall. It's not just Bland either. The coaching staff and front office are evaluating everyone during these off-season workouts, and if they see the chemistry and consistency growing without Diggs, they'll take note of that. We've seen this before. A star player gets sidelined, the next man up shines, and suddenly the team starts asking tough questions about long-term value. So let me throw this out to you. If Bland keeps ascending like this, do you think the Cowboys should start considering a future without Trevon Diggs? Could that money be better spent elsewhere on the roster? Vote in the poll on screen now. Stick with Diggs or ride with Bland? And let me know why in the comments, because this could be one of the biggest defensive storylines heading into the season. Now let's zoom out for a second and really think about how we got here. Just a year ago, Trevon Diggs was seen as a cornerstone piece of this Cowboys defense. A Pro Bowler, a playmaker, and a guy Jerry Jones believed in enough to hand over a 5-year, $97 million extension. That deal was supposed to lock down the cornerback spot for years. But now there's a growing sense that the Cowboys might have moved a little too quickly. Because after the injury, and now this offseason absence, questions are piling up. Not just about his health, but about his mindset, his leadership, and even his long-term fit. And here's where things get even more complicated. Financially, that contract wasn't cheap. Diggs is set to count over $16 million against the cap next year. And you have to ask, if he's not 100%, if he's not fully bought in, and if there's a guy like Darren Bland rising fast right behind him, is that money being wisely spent? This isn't just a front office problem either. You know how locker rooms work. Players notice when someone doesn't show up, especially when that someone is a team captain, a guy with a big contract, and a voice in the room. If Diggs is checked out, or even just seen that way, it could quietly chip away at the culture the Cowboys are trying to build. And let's not forget, Mike Zimmer is in the building now. This guy doesn't mess around. He demands toughness, discipline, and total buy-in from his corners. That's not optional with Zimmer. It's a requirement. And if Diggs can't get on the same page with Zimmer, that could be the beginning of the end. Let me ask you this. If you were in Mike Zimmer's shoes, would you be willing to reshape the secondary around someone who isn't even showing up right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you challenge Diggs or start preparing for life without him? So, let's talk about Mike Zimmer for a second, because his presence changes everything. The Cowboys didn't bring in Zimmer to babysit this defense. They brought him in to clean it up, make it tougher, and demand accountability. He's not here for drama or distractions, and you better believe he's watching this Trevon Diggs situation very closely. Zimmer's track record speaks for itself. He's developed elite corners, built top-tier defenses, and he doesn't tolerate guys who don't buy into the system. If you don't communicate, if you don't tackle, if you don't commit to your role, you don't play. It's that simple. And this brings us to the real possibility that Cowboys Nation needs to consider. What if Zimmer is already preparing for life after Trevon Diggs? Think about it. Darren Bland exploded last season. Jordan Lewis brings veteran grit. And the Cowboys drafted Kalen Carson, a physical, smart, Zimmer-type corner, who's already turning heads in OTAs. That's not just depth, that's leverage. Now, I'm not saying Zimmer is pushing Diggs out the door, but he's absolutely setting a standard. And if Diggs doesn't meet it, or if he keeps missing time, Zimmer has options. Legitimate, young, hungry options who fit his style. And here's another layer. Remember how Zimmer handled things in Minnesota? He was never afraid to bench veterans. He'd rather play a rookie who's all in than a big-name guy going half-speed. That mindset could come into play here in Dallas. So here's a question for you. Do you think Zimmer's no-nonsense approach is exactly what this defense needs? Or could it create even more tension in an already sensitive situation? Let me know down in the comments. Are you all in on Zimmer taking control, even if it means shaking up the secondary? Also, quick vote. If the Cowboys had to choose today between Bland and Diggs as their top corner moving forward, who are you rolling with? All right, let's bring it home. If there's one thing we've learned this offseason, it's that the Cowboys are not in the mood to babysit. Between the changes on the coaching staff, the tighter control over the locker room, and the emphasis on physicality and accountability, this team is shifting. And Trevon Diggs, like it or not, is at a crossroads. You've got a player with elite ball skills and a massive contract, but also a history of inconsistencies, some questionable effort moments, and now a perceived disconnect with the team's daily work. That's not just noise. That's tension you can feel. The truth is, the Cowboys are building something tougher. Brian Schottenheimer is changing the tone on offense. Mike Zimmer is putting his stamp on the defense. And Jerry and Stephen Jones, they've already shown they're willing to move on from big names if the culture isn't right. Just ask Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott, or even Jalen Smith. So here's what it comes down to. Trevon Diggs needs to buy in, stay on the field, and remind everyone why he earned that contract. Otherwise, this team, with Bland, Lewis, Carson, and Zimmer's mentality, will keep moving forward without him. And I want to hear from you on this. If the Cowboys were to trade Trevon Diggs, not saying it's happening, but if, what kind of return would you want in that deal? A first-round pick, a starting caliber receiver, or maybe a swap that brings help in the trenches? Also, sound off in the comments. Do you think the Cowboys are being too hard on Diggs? Or is this just what accountability looks like in a new era under Zimmer? And don't forget, hit that like button if you want more updates like this, and subscribe if you haven't already. This channel is your home for everything Cowboys. Straight talk, no fluff, just like we're doing right now. Because one thing is clear, the Cowboys are changing, and either you're part of it or you're out.